There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that the biggest obstacle standing in their way is not a lack of talent, money, or opportunity. It is the invisible wall created by their own beliefs. The mind has incredible power. It can convince you that a mountain is impossible to climb, or it can inspire you to take the very first step toward the summit. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one often begins with a single decision: to stop seeing limitations as permanent and start seeing possibilities as real. Many people spend years waiting for the perfect time, the perfect conditions, or the perfect version of themselves before they begin pursuing their dreams. They believe confidence comes before action, when in reality confidence is built through action. Every successful individual was once a beginner who faced uncertainty, doubt, and fear. What separated them from everyone else was not luck or natural ability, but the willingness to move forward despite not knowing exactly how everything would unfold. Today, you are about to discover two simple yet life-changing principles that have the power to transform the way you think, act, and overcome challenges. These principles are not based on wishful thinking or empty motivation. They are rooted in discipline, self-belief, and the understanding that every great achievement begins inside the mind before it appears in the outside world. As you listen, don't simply search for inspiration. Search for understanding. Because inspiration fades, but understanding changes the way you live. If you can train your mind to believe that growth is always possible, and train yourself to act with unwavering consistency, you will begin to unlock strengths you never realized you possessed. So, clear your mind, leave behind every excuse that it has been holding you back, and prepare to take the first step toward becoming the person you were always capable of being. Remember, your future is not determined by your past. It is determined by the decisions you make starting today. Every lasting transformation begins long before the world notices it. It begins in the quiet space of your own mind, where your beliefs shape your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape your future. Most people spend their lives trying to change what is happening around them without first changing what is happening within them. They hope that better circumstances will create a stronger mindset, but the truth is exactly the opposite. A stronger mindset creates better circumstances. The greatest breakthroughs are not born from perfect opportunities. They are born from people who choose to believe that growth is possible even when there is no visible proof. Think about the way people speak to themselves every day. Many wake up already expecting failure. Before they even begin a task, they quietly tell themselves, "I'm probably not good enough. Someone else can do it better. This is too difficult. Maybe I'm not meant for success." These thoughts may seem harmless because they are silent, but they quietly direct every decision that follows. A person who believes they will fail approaches every challenge with hesitation. They avoid taking risks, they give up quickly, and they search for reasons to stop instead of reasons to continue. Eventually, their belief becomes reality, not because they lacked ability, but because they never gave themselves permission to discover what they were truly capable of. Now imagine someone who faces the exact same challenge, but carries a different belief. They do not claim to know everything. They do not pretend the journey will be easy. Instead, they simply choose to believe that every obstacle can teach them something valuable. They tell themselves, "I may not know how yet, but I can learn." That single sentence changes everything. It creates curiosity instead of fear. It creates determination instead of doubt. It transforms every setback into another lesson rather than another excuse to quit. This is how powerful belief really is. It does not magically remove obstacles from your path. Instead, it changes the person walking that path. And when you become stronger, the obstacles that once looked impossible begin to look manageable. Many people mistakenly believe confidence is something people are born with. They look at successful individuals and assume they have always been fearless. But confidence is rarely present at the beginning. It is built through repeated acts of courage. Every confident person once stood exactly where you may be standing now, uncertain, nervous, and questioning themselves. The difference is that they refuse to let uncertainty become their identity. Your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant there grows. If you continually plant fear, doubt, comparison, and negativity, those thoughts will grow into habits that limit your life. But if you intentionally plant discipline, gratitude, patience, resilience, and belief, those qualities begin to grow stronger every day. The mind does not care whether the message is helpful or harmful. It simply repeats whatever you feed it most consistently. That is why guarding your thoughts is one of the most important responsibilities you have. Many people, wait for someone else to believe in them first. They hope a teacher, a friend, a parent, or a mentor will finally tell them they are capable. Encouragement from others is valuable, but it is never enough if your own inner voice constantly disagrees. External support can motivate you for a moment, but internal belief carries you through years of difficulty. Eventually, there will be moments when no one is clapping for you, no one is encouraging you, and no one understands your vision. During those moments, your own belief becomes your greatest source of strength. This is why comparing yourself to others is such a dangerous habit. Comparison convinces you that someone else's success somehow reduces your own potential. It shifts your focus away from improvement and toward insecurity. Every person has a different journey, different struggles, and different timing. Your responsibility is not to become someone else. Your responsibility is to become the strongest version of yourself. Growth begins the moment you stop measuring your progress against another person's accomplishments and start measuring it against the person you were yesterday. Belief is not blind optimism. It is not pretending problems do not exist. It is choosing to face reality without surrendering to it. You can acknowledge that the road is difficult while still believing you have the strength to walk it. You can admit that the challenge is real while refusing to let it define your future. That balance is what creates resilience. Consider how children learn to walk. They do not analyze every fall as proof that they are incapable. They fall, stand up, and try again. They repeat this process countless times without embarrassment because they assume they will eventually succeed. Somewhere along the journey into adulthood, many people lose that mindset. One mistake convinces them they are failures. One rejection convinces them they are unworthy. One setback convinces them they should stop trying. Imagine how different life would become if you approached every challenge with the persistence of a child learning to walk. The remarkable thing about belief is that it influences not only your actions, but also the opportunities you notice. When your mind is filled with possibility, you begin seeing solutions where others only see obstacles. You become more willing to learn new skills, meet new people, explore unfamiliar paths, and embrace challenges that once intimidated you. Your world expands because your thinking expands. Remember this: your future is not determined by the opinions people have about you. It is not determined by your past mistakes, your current circumstances, or the fears that visit your mind. Your future is shaped by the beliefs you choose to strengthen every single day. If you wake up each morning believing that growth is possible, that learning is possible, that change is possible, and that you are capable of becoming better than you were yesterday, your actions will slowly begin to reflect those beliefs. Every extraordinary achievement begins as an ordinary decision made repeatedly. The decision to believe instead of doubt. The decision to learn instead of complain. The decision to move forward instead of standing still. Change your inner belief first, and over time you will discover that the life you once thought was impossible begins to move within your reach. Not because the world changed overnight, but because you did. Most people believe they need perfect conditions before they can begin. They tell themselves, I'll start when I have more time. I'll begin when I feel more confident. I'll take action when I know exactly what I'm doing. But this way of thinking quietly steals years from their lives. The truth is that perfect conditions rarely exist. If you wait until every fear disappears, every question is answered, and every obstacle is removed, you will spend your life waiting instead of living. Look at nature. A seed does not wait for the perfect season according to its own preferences. Once the conditions are sufficient, it begins to grow. As it grows, it faces storms, strong winds, scorching heat, and heavy rain. Yet it continues reaching upward. It does not complain that life is unfair. It simply fulfills its purpose by growing one day at a time. Human beings often have far greater potential than that tiny seed, yet many refuse to move because they fear discomfort. Imagine what could happen if you approached your own life with the same quiet determination. Many people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence is the starting point. They believe successful people wake up every morning feeling fearless and certain. That is rarely true. Confidence is usually the result of repeated action. Every small promise you keep to yourself becomes evidence that you are capable. Every difficult conversation you choose to have, every workout you complete, every page you study, every skill you practice adds another brick to the foundation of your confidence. The person who appears fearless today was once someone who decided to move despite feeling afraid. Fear has an interesting habit. It grows larger when you stand still. The longer you delay taking action, the more your imagination creates reasons why you should not begin. Small challenges become enormous obstacles inside your mind. You imagine failure before you've even made your first attempt. But something remarkable happens the moment you take one small step forward. Fear begins to shrink. It may not disappear completely, but it loses its power because action replaces imagination with experience. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. No book could teach you balance better than actually getting on the bicycle. You probably fell a few times. You may have felt embarrassed or frustrated. Yet every fall taught your body something valuable. Eventually, balancing became natural. Life follows the same principle. Experience is the greatest teacher, but experience only comes through action. Too many people overestimate the importance of planning and underestimate the importance of doing. Planning is valuable, but endless planning becomes another form of procrastination. Some people spend months creating perfect schedules, buying notebooks, watching educational videos, and researching every possible strategy. They become experts at preparing, but beginners at executing. Knowledge becomes useful only when it is transformed into action. Imagine someone standing at the edge of a river, wanting to cross to the other side. They spend years measuring the water, studying the current, and calculating every possible outcome. Meanwhile, another person steps into the water carefully, learns from each movement, adjusts with every step, and eventually reaches the opposite shore. Progress belongs to the one who is willing to begin before everything feels certain. Consistency is far more powerful than intensity. Many people become excited for a few days. They work with tremendous energy, believing they can transform their lives overnight. But when enthusiasm fades, they stop. Real transformation is quieter than that. It comes from ordinary actions performed with extraordinary consistency. Reading 10 pages every day may not seem impressive, but over the course of a year, it becomes thousands of pages. Saving a small amount of money each week may feel insignificant, but over time it becomes financial stability. Practicing a skill for 1 hour every day may appear slow, but eventually it creates mastery. Never underestimate the power of small actions repeated faithfully. Great achievements are rarely built through dramatic moments. They are built through invisible habits that no one applauds. The world celebrates the finished masterpiece, but very few people witness the countless hours of patient work behind it. There will be days when motivation disappears. You will wake up feeling tired. Your mind will offer convincing excuses. It will tell you that missing one day doesn't matter. While rest is important when genuinely needed, excuses slowly become habits if left unchecked. Discipline means doing what needs to be done even when your emotions suggest otherwise. Feelings change constantly, but commitment remains steady. Do not compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Every expert once struggled with the basics. Every confident speaker once stumbled over words. Every successful entrepreneur once faced uncertainty. Every skilled artist once created imperfect work. The difference is that they kept going while others gave up too soon. They understood that progress is earned through patience rather than perfection. Remember that every meaningful journey is made one step at a time. Mountains are climbed by placing one foot in front of the other. Books are written one page at a time. Strong bodies are built through one workout after another. Wise minds are developed by learning one lesson each day. Extraordinary lives are simply the result of ordinary actions repeated with purpose. So stop waiting for the perfect opportunity. Stop believing you need permission from fear to begin. The path becomes clearer after you start walking, not before. Your future will never be shaped by the dreams you keep inside your mind alone. It will be shaped by the actions you choose today, tomorrow, and every day after that. Begin where you are. Use what you have. Learn as you go. Stay consistent when the results seem invisible. One day, you will look back and realize that the small actions you almost ignored became the very foundation of the life you once believed was impossible. Fear is one of the oldest survival instincts in the human mind. It was designed to protect you from danger, but in modern life, it often protects you from growth instead. It whispers that you are not ready, that you should wait a little longer, that someone else is more talented, more intelligent, or more deserving than you. The problem is not that fear exists. The problem begins when fear becomes the voice that makes your decisions. Every dream that remains untouched, every opportunity left unexplored, and every goal abandoned too early usually has one thing in common. Someone allowed fear to decide what was possible. Now imagine replacing that fear with curiosity. Curiosity asks completely different questions. Instead of saying, "What if I fail?" it quietly asks, What if I learn something valuable? Instead of asking, what if people judge me? It wonders, what if I discover a strength I never knew I had? Curiosity shifts your attention away from protecting your comfort and toward exploring your potential. It does not guarantee immediate success, but it guarantees movement, and movement is always more powerful than standing still. Think back to your childhood. Before the world filled your mind with expectations and limitations, curiosity was your natural state. You learned to walk by falling countless times. You learned to speak by making mistakes every day. You asked endless questions because you were not embarrassed about not knowing the answers. You were fascinated by learning. Failure was never a reason to stop. It was simply part of discovering how life worked. Somewhere along the way, many people traded that curiosity for fear. They became more concerned about looking capable than actually becoming capable. The most successful people in any field are rarely the ones who know everything from the beginning. They are the ones who never stop asking questions. They understand that every expert was once completely inexperienced. Every master was once a beginner who made mistakes that others never saw. Instead of pretending to have all the answers, they remain students for life. That mindset allows them to continue growing, while others remain trapped by the illusion that they must already be perfect before taking action. When you approach challenges with curiosity, obstacles begin to look different. A setback is no longer proof that you are incapable. It becomes information. A mistake is no longer a reason to quit. It becomes feedback. A criticism is no longer a personal attack. It becomes an opportunity to evaluate whether there is something useful to improve. This simple shift transforms your relationship with difficulty. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? That question alone can change the direction of your life. Curiosity also frees you from one of the greatest prisons of the modern world, the fear of other people's opinions. Many individuals never begin the work they were meant to do because they imagine the criticism before they even take the first step. They create conversations in their minds that have never happened. They assume rejection before introducing themselves. They expect failure before making the attempt. In reality, most people are too busy thinking about their own lives to spend much time judging yours. Even if they do judge you, their opinions cannot determine your future unless you give them permission. Every achievement in history began with someone asking a question that others ignored. What happens if I try? What happens if I refuse to quit? What happens if there is another way? Progress has always belonged to those who were curious enough to challenge accepted limits. If everyone believed only what had already been proven, nothing new would ever exist. Every invention, every discovery, every work of art, and every meaningful contribution to humanity started with someone willing to explore beyond the boundaries of certainty. There is another hidden strength within curiosity. It keeps your mind open during difficult seasons. Fear narrows your vision. It convinces you there is only one outcome, and it is usually the worst one. Curiosity expands your vision. It reminds you that there are countless possibilities you cannot yet see. Perhaps this disappointment is redirecting you towards something greater. Perhaps this delay is preparing you with skills you will need later. Perhaps this challenge is strengthening qualities that success alone could never develop. You do not always need immediate answers. Sometimes you simply need the willingness to keep exploring. This way of thinking also changes how you view yourself. Instead of defining your identity by your current abilities, you begin defining yourself by your capacity to grow. You stop saying, I am not good at this, and start saying, I am learning this. That small difference may seem insignificant, but it completely changes your mindset. One statement closes the door, the other keeps it open. Growth belongs to people who believe improvement is always possible. Every day presents opportunities to practice curiosity. Speak to someone with a different perspective. Read a book outside your usual interests. Learn a new skill that challenges your confidence. Ask better questions instead of searching only for quick answers. Notice how often your mind automatically chooses comfort, then gently guide it toward exploration instead. Growth is rarely dramatic in a single moment. It is usually the result of hundreds of small decisions to remain open instead of closed. Remember, fear and curiosity cannot lead your life at the same time. One keeps you standing safely at the edge, wondering what might have been. The other invites you to take the first step into the unknown, where every lesson, every opportunity, and every breakthrough is waiting. The choice is yours every single day. You can spend your life asking, what if I fail? Or you can begin asking, what incredible possibilities might be waiting for me if I simply have the courage to begin? That single question has the power to transform not only your actions, but the entire direction of your life. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against difficult people, unfair circumstances, or unexpected failures. It is against the thoughts that quietly shape your decisions every single day. Before your hands take action, your mind has already chosen a direction. Before you speak, your thoughts have already formed your words. Before you give up or keep going, your mind has already told a story about what is possible. This is why mastering your thoughts is one of the most valuable skills you can ever develop. If you can learn to guide your mind instead of being controlled by it, you gain control over your entire life. Many people believe that they are simply victims of whatever thoughts appear in their minds. They assume that if they feel fear, they must obey it. If they feel doubt, they must stop. If they feel discouraged, they must wait until motivation returns. But your mind does not always tell the truth. Sometimes it speaks from old fears, painful memories, or imagined failures that have not even happened. If you accept every thought without questioning it, you hand over control of your future to emotions that constantly change. Imagine your mind as a vast garden. Every thought is a seed. Some seeds produce confidence, courage, patience, and determination. Others grow into anxiety, jealousy, anger, and hopelessness. The garden never stops growing. If you neglect it, weeds spread naturally. Negative thoughts require no invitation. They appear on their own. Positive thinking, however, requires attention, discipline, and daily care. This is why a disciplined mind does not happen by accident. It is cultivated through conscious effort every single day. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing they must eliminate every negative thought before they can become successful. That is impossible. Even the strongest minds experience fear and uncertainty. The difference is that disciplined people refuse to let those thoughts become permanent residents. They acknowledge them without allowing them to take control. They replace destructive thinking with constructive action. Instead of saying, I can't do this, they ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of focusing on obstacles, they search for solutions. This simple shift changes everything because the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. Self-discipline begins long before your actions become visible. It begins in the silent moments when nobody is watching. It is choosing to wake up when comfort tells you to stay in bed. It is choosing to remain calm when anger demands a reaction. It is choosing to continue working when distractions compete for your attention. These decisions may seem small, but they quietly strengthen your character. Every disciplined choice teaches your mind that you are in charge, not your impulses. Your attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. If your attention constantly rests on problems, your world begins to feel heavy. If your attention focuses on opportunities, your perspective becomes lighter and more hopeful. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let temporary difficulties define your identity. You may face setbacks, but setbacks are events, not identities. You may experience failure, but failure is an experience, not a definition of who you are. There will always be voices trying to influence your thinking. Some come from social media, some from critics, some from past experiences, and some even come from people who genuinely care about you, but cannot see beyond their own fears. If you allow every outside opinion to shape your mind, you will spend your life chasing expectations that do not belong to you. A disciplined mind learns to listen carefully, accept useful wisdom, and quietly reject unnecessary negativity. Inner peace grows stronger when you stop giving every opinion equal value. Silence is another powerful form of mental discipline. Many people fear silence because it forces them to confront themselves. They fill every empty moment with noise, entertainment, or endless distractions. Yet it is often in silence that your greatest clarity appears. When the world becomes quiet, you begin to notice your habits, your emotions, and your patterns of thinking. You recognize what strengthens you and what weakens you. In those moments, you gain the opportunity to consciously choose a better direction instead of living on automatic habits. Remember that discipline is not punishment. It is an expression of self-respect. Every healthy habit you build is a message to yourself that your future matters. Every time you choose patience over impulsiveness, focus over distraction, or consistency over excuses, you become a little stronger than you were yesterday. These victories may seem invisible, but they are shaping a person who can remain steady regardless of external circumstances. A calm and disciplined mind is not created in a single day. It is built through thousands of small decisions repeated with intention. Some days will feel easy, while others will test every ounce of your determination. On those difficult days, remind yourself that growth is rarely comfortable. The strongest trees develop deep roots because they withstand powerful storms. Likewise, your character becomes unshakable when you refuse to let temporary emotions control permanent decisions. Never underestimate the power of mastering your own thoughts. The person who can remain focused in chaos, hopeful during uncertainty, and disciplined when motivation disappears possesses a strength that cannot be taken away. Success always begins in the unseen world of the mind before it appears in the visible world of results. Train your thoughts with patience, guide your emotions with wisdom, and strengthen your discipline with daily practice. When your mind becomes your greatest ally instead of your greatest obstacle, there will be very little in this world that can prevent you from becoming the person you were meant to be. Every person dreams of a life without obstacles, but if that wish were granted, growth would disappear. Strength is never developed in comfort. Wisdom is never gained through ease. Character is never revealed when everything goes according to plan. The moments that shape you are the ones you would never choose. The failures, the disappointments, the unexpected delays, and the challenges that force you to become someone stronger than you were yesterday. If you learn to see every obstacle as training instead of punishment, your entire perspective on life begins to change. Think of a sword. Before it becomes sharp enough to serve its purpose, it must endure intense heat, repeated hammering, and careful shaping. Without that process, it remains an ordinary piece of metal. Human beings are no different. Life applies pressure not to destroy you, but to reveal the strength that has always been hidden within you. The difficulty is that while you are in the middle of the struggle, it rarely feels like growth. It feels uncomfortable. It feels unfair. It feels exhausting. Yet those are often the moments when the greatest transformation is taking place. Many people ask, why is this happening to me? That question often keeps them trapped because it focuses only on the pain. A better question is, what is this experience trying to teach me? The moment you ask that, your mind shifts from being a victim of circumstances to becoming a student of life. Every setback contains a lesson, but only those who are willing to learn will discover it. Failure, for example, is one of the greatest teachers you will ever encounter. Most people fear failure because they see it as proof that they are not capable. But failure is not a verdict. It is feedback. It shows you what needs improvement. It reveals weaknesses that success often hides. Every mistake gives you information that can guide your next attempt. Those who succeed are not people who never fail. They are people who refuse to let failure become their identity. Imagine a child learning to walk. No one expects perfection on the first attempt. The child falls over and over again. Yet no one says, maybe walking just isn't for you. Instead, every fall is accepted as part of learning. Somewhere along the way, adults forget this truth. They experience one disappointment and begin questioning their entire potential. They stop trying because they believe falling means they should stay on the ground. But growth has always required getting back up. Obstacles also reveal what is truly inside you. It is easy to speak about patience when nothing is testing your emotions. It is easy to claim confidence when everything is going well. The real test comes when life becomes uncertain. Can you remain calm when plans fall apart? Can you continue working when results are delayed? Can you maintain kindness when others misunderstand you? These moments reveal your character far more than your words ever could. Every challenge develops a different part of you. Difficult conversations teach courage. Loneliness teaches self-reliance. Delayed success teaches patience. Criticism teaches emotional maturity. Responsibility teaches discipline. Loss teaches gratitude. None of these lessons can be fully understood through books alone. They must be experienced. Life becomes the classroom, and every obstacle becomes a lesson designed to prepare you for greater responsibilities. There is another truth that many overlook. The obstacle standing in your way today may actually be protecting you from becoming someone who is unprepared for tomorrow. Imagine receiving everything you wanted before developing the wisdom to manage it. Success without discipline often leads to failure. Power without humility creates destruction. Wealth without self-control disappears quickly. Sometimes life delays your progress because it is developing your character first. The person you are becoming is more important than the achievement you are chasing. When you begin viewing hardships as training sessions instead of permanent defeats, your mindset changes completely. Athletes do not become stronger by lifting empty weights. Muscles grow because resistance exists. Likewise, your resilience grows because challenges exist. The greater the resistance, the greater the opportunity to develop strength. Instead of wishing for an easier path, become the kind of person who can walk difficult roads with confidence. Remember that every season has a purpose. Storms do not last forever, but the lessons they teach often remain for a lifetime. One day, you may discover that the obstacle you once hated became the reason you developed patience, confidence, discipline, and wisdom. It became the experience that prepared you for opportunities you could not have handled before. So, when life presents another challenge, do not immediately see it as an enemy. See it as another chapter in your training. Stand firm, remain patient, and continue moving forward with courage. Every obstacle you overcome becomes evidence that you are stronger than you were before. Step by step, challenge by challenge, you are becoming a wiser, more resilient, and more capable version of yourself. And one day, you will look back with gratitude, realizing that the very struggles you wanted to escape were the ones that built the person you were always meant to become. Greatness is often misunderstood. Many people believe it belongs only to the naturally gifted, the wealthy, or the fortunate. They assume that extraordinary people are born with something special that the rest of the world simply does not possess. But this belief creates an invisible barrier before the journey has even begun. The truth is that greatness is not a gift handed to a chosen few. It is a potential that exists within every human being. The difference is not whether the potential exists, but whether it is awakened, developed, and expressed through daily action. Imagine carrying a priceless treasure without ever opening the chest that contains it. That is how many people live. They spend years searching outside themselves for confidence, approval, motivation, and permission, while everything they truly need has been quietly waiting within them all along. Your greatest strength is not something you must find somewhere else. It is something you must uncover through discipline, patience, and consistent effort. Every day, life presents you with two identities. One identity is shaped by fear. It tells you to stay where you are because it feels safe. It reminds you of every mistake you have ever made and whispers that you should avoid taking risks because failure is painful. It encourages you to compare yourself with others until you begin believing that you are always behind. This version of yourself seeks comfort above growth, certainty above possibility, and approval above authenticity. The other identity is built on courage. It understands that fear will always exist, but it refuses to let fear become the decision maker. It recognizes that every challenge is an invitation to become stronger. Instead of asking, "Can I really do this?" it asks, "What kind of person will I become if I keep going?" That simple shift changes everything because it places your attention on growth instead of doubt. You do not become extraordinary by pretending to be fearless. You become extraordinary by continuing to move while fear walks beside you. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing your purpose over your comfort. Every successful person has experienced uncertainty. Every respected leader has questioned themselves. Every master was once a beginner who struggled to perform even the simplest tasks. Their greatness did not appear in a single dramatic moment. It was built through thousands of ordinary moments when they chose not to quit. Many people wait until they feel confident before taking action. Unfortunately, confidence rarely arrives first. It is earned through repeated experience. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. You did not become balanced by reading about balance. You became balanced by wobbling, falling, standing up, and trying again. The same principle applies to every meaningful pursuit in life. Whether you want to build a business, improve your health, strengthen your relationships, or master a new skill, confidence grows from action, not from waiting. This is why your daily habits matter far more than your occasional bursts of motivation. Motivation is emotional. Habits are intentional. Emotions change with circumstances, but disciplined habits continue regardless of how you feel. On some mornings, you will wake up energized. On others, you will feel tired, discouraged, or uninspired. If your actions depend entirely on your emotions, your progress will always be inconsistent. But if your actions are guided by your values and your commitment, your growth becomes reliable. Living as though greatness already exists within you does not mean pretending you have already reached your destination. It means making decisions that align with the person you are becoming. A healthy person chooses nutritious food because that choice reflects their identity. A disciplined person completes important work even when distractions are tempting. A compassionate person speaks with kindness even when others respond with negativity. Identity is expressed through consistent choices, not occasional achievements. One of the greatest mistakes people make is allowing temporary failures to define their permanent identity. You may fail an exam, but that does not make you a failure. You may lose an opportunity, but that does not mean opportunities have disappeared forever. You may experience rejection, criticism, or disappointment, but none of these events determine your worth unless you allow them to become your identity. Mistakes are experiences. They are teachers. They reveal weaknesses so you can transform them into strengths. The only true defeat is refusing to learn. Consider how nature develops strength. A tree standing alone in an open field faces powerful winds throughout every season. At first glance, those winds appear to be a threat, yet those very forces encourage the tree to deepen its roots. Without resistance, the roots would remain shallow, and the tree would become vulnerable. Your challenges serve the same purpose. They strengthen your character, deepen your resilience, and prepare you for responsibilities that weaker versions of yourself could never carry. There will always be people who underestimate you because they judge your present while ignoring your potential. Some will criticize your ambitions because your determination reminds them of the dreams they abandoned. Others will project their own fears onto your future. Do not allow their limitations to become your beliefs. Listen carefully to advice that helps you improve, but never surrender your vision simply because someone else cannot imagine it. Every meaningful achievement in history was once dismissed as unrealistic by those who lacked the courage to pursue it. Your responsibility is not to prove everyone wrong. Your responsibility is to become the strongest version of yourself. Let your consistency speak louder than your explanations. Let your discipline answer every doubt. Let your actions become the evidence that transformation is possible. Every sunrise offers another opportunity to strengthen the person you are becoming. Every decision, no matter how small, shapes your future identity. The choice to wake up with purpose, to remain focused despite distractions, to continue learning despite mistakes, and to persist despite discomfort slowly creates a life that once seemed impossible. Greatness is not built through one extraordinary moment. It is built through countless ordinary moments handled with extraordinary commitment. Never underestimate what can happen when you begin living as though your highest potential is already within you. Walk with humility, but also with confidence. Continue learning, continue growing, and continue serving others with integrity. Trust the process even when the results are invisible. Every disciplined step plants a seed that will eventually bear fruit. One day, people may look at your accomplishments and call them remarkable, but you will know the truth. They were not created by luck or chance. They were created by the quiet decision you made every day to believe in your potential, to act with unwavering discipline, and to become the person you were always capable of being.